precursors, we're looking at objectives 2.6 through 8. This was 3 days of learning for us, all covering discount and markup. Really important real-world connections, because you're going to be able to see all these ways that this will help you at the store. It's standard 7 and it's 1.7, which is a very key standard for the CST. You'll probably see 5 to 6 questions on the CST for it. We're going to start with what it might look like on the CST when you get there. So the first type of skill that we're going to look at is a simple discount or markup. That means there's only one thing happening. In this problem, a sweater originally cost $37.50. Last week, Moesha bought it at 20% off. The only thing that's happening is 20% off. The only thing that's happening is 20% off. And so your job might be two different things in the CST. One is to figure out how much is taking off. So how much money does she save? The other question I might ask you is, what's the final sale price? How much will she pay? And so in order to tackle this problem, we're going to use the same graphic organizer that we use when we learn this. And the first example I'll do is that exact one from the CST. So in that problem, first thing is figure out what was the original cost. It said it was $37.50. And it said that there's going to be a 20% discount, so 20% off. So the very first thing we need to figure out is how much money is 20% off? How much money is 20% of $37.50? And in order to do that, I'm going to use skills from before. I need to find 20% of $37.50. I'll convert 20% to a decimal, 0.20 times $37.50. And I'll multiply to find out what it is. I'll do that work over here. $37.50 times 20 hundredths, 0 times 0, 0. Skip one spot, 2 times 0, 0. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 7 is 14, 15. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Add them up, 0, 0, 0, 5, and 7. Since when I move my decimal two places, I need to move it 4 spaces in my product, which means right there, 20% of $37.50 is $7.50. So the discount of the markup is $7.50. So if, like the CST, I was asking how much is she saving, you have your answer. She's saving $7.50. But if the question is how much is she going to pay the sale price, we need to do one more step, which is to start with our original price of $37.50 and to subtract, since it's a discount, the amount she's saving. If I do that, the final sale price, the amount that she's going to actually end up spending, is $30. Now I'd like you to try an example, which I'll write in blue here. What if I gave you an item that originally cost $45, let's say like a jacket, and instead of there being 20% off, instead of there being a sale, it was a 10% tax. I want you to stop the video here, and you tell me, first, how much money will she pay in tax, and second, how much would that person pay in total? Stop the video here, press play when you're ready to check your answer. Okay, you've tried this, and now it's time to check. The very first thing you want to do is to figure out what's 10% of $45. That means you wanted to find 10 hundredths times 45. If you multiplied carefully, that would have been 4.5. So the tax was $4.50. That's how much that person is paying in tax. Since it's a tax, though, to find the final price, it's not a sale price, it's actually a markup price. You take the original value of $45, then you need to add $4.50. I lined up my decimals, I add them, and this is really $49.50. And that's how much that person will pay after tax. So going back, you can see that we solved problems like this that were simple. They only had one thing going on. This problem that you just solved, the one thing going on was 10% tax. The second skill, which is more complicated, is what happens when you combine these things with a problem like this. This is a more complicated CST problem because there's two things going on. Here are the two things. So if someone buys a jacket that used to cost $88, how much would it cost if there was a sale for 50% off? That's the first thing going on. And then a sale that had another 25% off the discounted price. That's the second thing going on. So there's two different steps here, and that's why the graphic organizer for these problems got a little bit longer. So I'm going to use the graphic organizer we use for these problems to figure out if we have an item, and first one I'll do is actually that CST item that originally cost $88 and was 50% off, and then had later another 25% off. How much will this person pay in total? So in order to do that, this is just a combination of the skills you saw on slide 1. To find 50% off of 88, you might be able to think, oh, that's just half of 88. But if we want to just follow the same procedure, it'd be 50% of 88, which is 0.5 times 80. If you multiply 5/10 times 80, that would be $40. So the discount, or the first discount, is $40 off. And that means after that first discount, this person, wait, I made a mistake. This should be $44. $44 off of $88 means that this person's actually going to pay, let's see, $88 minus 44. After the first discount, this person would pay 44 bucks. So that's the first sale price. But then that second thing happens, which is 25% off. So we need to find 25% off of the new price. So I want to figure out 25% of 44, which is 0.25 times 44. And if I multiply, that would equal 1/4 of 44. That's $11. So the second discount is $11 off. But the question is how much this person pays when they're done. If the second discount was $11 off, well, let's see. After the first discount, it was 44. We're taking another $11 off. So the final price here would be $33. So again, you see that there's two things happening. First, a 50% off, and second, a 25% off of the new price. And after both discounts, this comes to $33. So looking back at that CST problem, that would have been option B. Now I'd like you to try a problem that is not two discounts, but is actually a discount, then a tax. And the problem is this. Let's say someone buys a PlayStation for $150, well, that's how much it would have cost. And then two things happen. The first thing that happens is a discount of 20% off. And the second thing that happens is then a tax of 10%. And so remember, the 20% off is going to make this price cheaper, but then with whatever price you get, the 10% tax is then going to make this more expensive. Go ahead and finish this problem. Press play when you're ready to check your answer. Okay, so you've tried this, now it's time to check. First thing you're trying to figure out is what's 20% of 150? 25% of 150 is really 0.2 times 150, which would have equaled 30. So the first discount is $30 off. That's how much they save. But to figure out how much they pay after that discount, it's 150 minus 30, which would be $120. So after the discount, that's how much the item costs. That should have been your price after the first discount. Then you have this 10% tax, so it needs to get a little bit more expensive. And the way it's going to do that is going to increase 10% of that new price, which is 120. So that's 0 and 1/10 times 120, which is really $12. So now the markup is a $12 tax, which means if it was $120 after the discount and you're adding $12, this would come to a total of $132. Check your answer if you got either of these right. So you should see that even though it started at $150, the first thing that happened, which was a 20% off, brought it down to $120. And then with the 10% tax, it brought it back up a little bit, but not all the way, to $132. So you still ended up saving some money, but not all of it. Okay. Now it's time for independent practice. You have two problems of each type. The first two, find the sale price or the markup price. These correspond to slide 1. The second two, find the final sale price. These correspond to slide 2. Take your time with these. Make sure, if you'd like to, you can use the same graphic organizers that we used. After you submit them, you should be ready for objective assessment. 2A point, I think 6 through 8. Good luck.